Translation in cells involve two major processes. One is transcription, the other one is translation. Translation is the synthesis of polypeptide out of mRNA. mRNA is the genetic RNA from which the sequence of amino acids in the polypeptide is dictated. But this translation process needs the concept of genetic code. So, genetic code is the dictionary. The cells use this for synthesis of the polypeptide. So, the genetic code is the correspondence between the sequence of codons to or the sequence of bases in the mRNA to the sequence of amino acids in the polypeptide. So, it is seen that 3 consecutive bases in the mRNA corresponds to one amino acid. So, there is collinearity between the bases of mRNA and the amino acids of the polypeptide. So, how this genetic code was discovered? So, it is the 3 scientists, especially Marshall Nirenberg, Hargobind Khorana, they are instrumental in deciphering the genetic code. It means in the genetic code what are the codons which are meant for which amino acids. So, these details of the genetic code was unraveled by the scientists, these 2 scientists, 3 scientists in from 1961 to 1966. So, they are Hargobind Khorana, Marshall Nirenberg and Mathey. They revealed that the genetic code consists of words called codons, and whether the word consists of 1 base or 2 base or 3 bases. Okay. So, these 3 consecutive bases constitute one codon that was experimentally verified by these 3 scientists. So, codon is a triplet one, and that was discovered by these people. So, that is why they, along with Robert Holley, who gave the 3D structure of yeast alanine tRNA. So, these 3 received a Nobel Prize in Physiology of Medicine 1968 for the same. Now, genetic code, as we know, it is written in the sequence of bases of mRNA, because mRNA is the genetic RNA which is ultimately read by the cell process for synthesis of protein. So, there are 64 codons in the genetic code, out of which 3 codons code for or they are meant for chain termination. They are called as stop codons. They do not code for any amino acid, rather they mean where the chain will be terminated. So, there are 3 stop codons. Besides, there are 61 codons are there. They code for 20 standard amino acids. We know there are 20 protein synthesizing amino acids or standard 20. These 20 amino acids are used in polypeptide or protein synthesis. Thus, 61 codons code for 20 amino acids. So, it implies multiple codons might be involved for synthesis of one amino acid. So, let us see from this UUU, UUC, these 2 code for phenylalanine, the amino acid. Similarly, these 6 codons code for leucine, another amino acid. So, several multiple codons exist for one amino acid, as we see. Arginine, you can see arginine, these 4 and these 2, they code for the total 6 codons code for one amino acid. We will coming to that. That property is called degeneracy, or code is said to be degenerate. But how that happens, or how multiple codons they code for one amino acid, that can be explained by one phenomenon. So code is a triplet one, and always in an mRNA of prokaryotes, AUG is the start codon. In all mRNAs, the start codon, or the point from which protein synthesis will begin, that is your AUG, which codes for the amino acids, that is methionine. So one start codon always present. Cells use either of these three codons as stop codons. Code is universal. What does it mean? Universal means who use the code. If I say the English language is almost universal, many countries in the world they are using this language for communication. Similarly, all cells, pro and eu, prokaryotic and eukaryotic, they use this genetic code for synthesis of polypeptide or protein. So here we can say genetic code is universal, and if you look at UUU, all the cells irrespective of prokaryote or eukaryote, they use UUU for synthesis of phenylalanine. UUU doesn't mean anything else than phenylalanine. So everywhere the meaning is same, and thus genetic code provides a common language across different kingdoms in the world. So starting from archaea, prokarya and eukarya, all three domains of life use almost the same genetic code for synthesis of protein, and everywhere the meaning of each codon is same, bearing certain differences. The differences we are not going to look at here. Then code is non-overlapping. Just try to understand. This is the sequence of bases in mRNA. For our convenience, we have grouped them into 2, 3. Likewise, otherwise in mRNA, the bases are continuous without any punctuation, neither full stop nor comma, nothing is there. They are continuous. Now, when the first codon, here code is non-overlapping, means we could know that genetic code is a triplet, 3 consecutive bases in the mRNA constitute a codon. Then this is first, second, third base, 4th, 5th, 6th base. First 3 bases constitute one codon, second 3 bases constitute another codon, that means 4, 5th, 4th, 5th and 6th. But non-overlapping and overlapping, what does it mean? Code is non-overlapping. That means bases of the first codon are not used by the second codon. So none of the bases of the first codon is used by the second codon. They are first codon, first 3 bases, second codon, second codon, next 3 bases likewise. But this implies this is one codon, but for the second codon these 2 bases again used. This implies the code is overlapping, but virtually code is non-overlapping. It is just to explain this diagram is drawn. Rather, in reality code is non-overlapping. Next, code is degenerate. If we recall the first diagram reflecting the all 64 codons, where we can see phenylalanine is encoded by 2 codons, arginine by 6 codons, valine by 4 codons likewise. So, multiple codons exist for one amino acid. So, how this happens? If we look at this, this is the mRNA sequence, this is the base GCU, this is the codon, and this is the tRNA, of which this is the anticodon. If you look at the pairing between the codon and anticodon must be complementary. Usually GCU is paired by CGA because A is complementary to U. So, when GCU is paired by the anticodon CGA, that is perfect pairing, perfect pairing. But here this kind of pairing, what we say in the first and second base of the codon and anticodon, there is complete pairing, but mismatch pairing in the third base of the codon is tolerated, as a result of which the third base mismatch pairing or improper pairing can lead to synthesis of the polypeptide, as a result of which multiple codons can code for a single amino acid, and this property of that mismatch pairing is said to be obel, that is obeling. The third position of the codon is relaxed. That means, if it is not properly paired, then it is also possible that the translation can proceed. So, this obel nature of genetic code was subsequently proved in 1963, as a result of which multiple codons could code for a single amino acid. Code is commaless. There is no punctuation anywhere, neither a full stop nor a comma, nothing. It is read continuously. Bases are written or bases are positioned continuously in the mRNA. If you remove the fourth base, suppose first, second, third, fourth, if you remove the fourth base, again first, second, third, they constitute one codon. You have deleted the fourth base, then the fifth, sixth, seventh, they become another codon. Okay. So, there is no punctuation, there is no gap separating two codons. It is so, mRNA is read continuously, whether there is addition of bases in between, the machinery will read it continuously. If there is deletion, the machinery will also read it continuously, it does not matter. So, that is why it is told code is commaless. And in the very beginning, we have discussed a lot about this initiation codon and stop codons. Initiation codon is AUG, that stands for methionine. There are three stop codons, they are UAA, UAG and UGA. Their name in general written, they are called as stop codons. Often in the books it is mentioned stop codons are nonsense codons. But do you think that a full stop at the end of a sentence is meaningless? Not at all. If there want to be full stop, then it will be continuous, so we cannot get any meaning. So, stop codon, as it does not code for any amino acid, it is called nonsense codon, but stop codon has a very good sense, it indicates where the chain termination will take place. So, nonsense codon is a somewhat wrong naming or a misnomer. After getting idea about the dictionary, the cells use, the genetic code, the cells use, what the machinery, other machineries involved in translation process. Important, the three important types of RNA, one is messenger RNA, which is called genetic RNA. There the information is written, it is read. Messenger RNA is read, it is as good as a book, but other two types of RNAs, transfer RNA and ribosomal RNA. They are much important in the translation process along with messenger RNA. The transfer RNAs, there are many transfer RNAs in a cell, and we know they are variously called by the scientist. Some called it as soluble RNA, as its size is 4s, 4 Sedberg unit, very small. They are soluble in the cytoplasm of the cells, so that's why the name soluble RNA. But in the context of genetic translation, here we have to look at the two-dimensional structure of this tRNA. tRNA, due to base pairing, it assumes a clover leaf model. Clover is a plant, it is a legume plant. The three arms pertains to or relates to three leaflets, and this is to petiole. So that's why it is called clover leaf model. But our concern is it has 4 arms, so to say 5 arms. This is amino acid acceptor arm, this is DHU arm, this is T arm, T C arm, and this is anticodon arm. In the context of this process, we have to think of these two opposite arms. One is amino acid acceptor arm, the other one is anticodon arm. Why the name transfer RNA? We have to think why so it is named, what it does. If I take this duster as the ribosome to which the messenger RNA binds, okay, but tRNA, messenger RNA has codons and the tRNA has anticodons in it, and tRNAs are instrumental in translation process. What they do? They read the codons in one hand. This is the hand codon, which is read by anticodon, which is complementary to the codon, and in the other hand the amino acid is bound to this. Now I can say this is an empty tRNA, that means no amino acid is bound to this. In this context we can designate two terms, empty tRNA and another is charged tRNA or loaded tRNA. When tRNA is not bound to any amino acid, that is empty tRNA. But when an amino acid binds here, when one amino acid binds here, that is called the charged tRNA or loaded tRNA. So tRNA is often called translator RNA. A translator must know at least 2 languages. If I am doing translation from English to Hindi, English to Odia, I must know both the languages. Similarly, this transfer RNA knows 2 languages, that is the language of the mRNA. So it reads the mRNA through its anticodon. Conversely, it also brings the amino acid into a polypeptide. So it knows the genetic language as well as amino acid language. Thus, transfer RNA is rightly said to be translator RNA. Another term, transfer RNA. If this is the ribosome and mRNA is bound to this, transfer RNA from different portions of the cytoplasm brings the amino acid bound to it to the site of ribosome. So that's why it is called transfer RNA. So transfer RNA is very important in protein synthesis. Out of the 4 arms, the 2 important arms in this discussion, they are anticodon arm, the other one is the amino acid binding arm. And when we go back to this, always you can see this is a 2-dimensional structure, of transfer RNA. It attains an L-shaped three-dimensional structure, but always to this CCA end amino acid binds. So, CCA end is common to all types of RNA, whatever the internal structure may be, but this is fixed. 5' end, CCA, 3' end. So, here only the amino acid is bound. Okay. I told you transfer RNA is important in this context. Now, the ribosome. Ribosome is generally known as the workbench of protein synthesis. We have, it is a concept, protein synthesis is a concept, it is taking place inside cell, but how we have to understand by these diagrams, by our level of previous knowledge. So, now ribosome in cytosol, they remain in the two forms, one is small subunit form, the other one is large subunit form. During protein synthesis, these two subunits come together and form a complete ribosome. Complete ribosome. This ribosome seems to be globular structure, but X-ray diffraction studies reveal that it is something different. We can have at least one model somewhere, a computer generated model regarding the ribosome. Now, the ribosome is the structure to which the mRNA binds. So, better to say, if it is the small subunit and this is the large subunit, when I keep this, there is a cleft, gote gap majire rahuchi, and that is the site for attachment or binding of the mRNA. Okay. So, now this slot, this three-dimensional structure, the space in between these two is meant for binding of mRNA, and the complete ribosome has three sites. One is A site, P site, another is E site. A site is amino acid binding site, or always a tRNA carrying an amino acid always locates this site, binds to this site. Peptidyl means tRNA carrying a growing polypeptide is called peptidyl tRNA. So, peptidyl tRNA binds this site, and when the tRNA involved in translation is function is over, it will exit, it will leave the ribosome. From P site, an empty tRNA or vacated tRNA exits the ribosome through this site. So, this is called E site. A site for tRNA having one amino acid or charged tRNA always binds to the site. tRNA carrying growing polypeptide binds this site, and a vacated or whose amino acid is removed or utilized in peptide synthesis. So, that tRNA is leaving the ribosome through this site. So, now besides this, another site, just a circle is made to give a concept regarding the peptidyl transferase. Two amino acids cannot form bond as such, one enzyme must form bond between them, and the enzyme which is involved in synthesis of peptide bond between two amino acids, we will see that is your peptidyl transferase, and that peptidyl transferase is not soluble in the cytoplasm, rather the peptidyl transferase is a very much structural component of this 50S subunit, because 30S and 50S subunit they give rise to 70S ribosome of prokaryotes, and E. coli is thoroughly studied organism for protein synthesis, and translation in eukaryotes is our concern or purpose of discussion. So, what I told you, 70S ribosome in general has three sites. These are the sites: A site, then P site, and the mRNA is held in a spacious cleft between the large and small subunits. The peptide transferase activity is confined to a cleft in the large subunit. So, these thus mRNA, tRNA and ribosome structure, their understanding is important before the proper translation begins. So, translation is the mechanism by which ribosome reads the base sequence of mRNA, and following the dictation, following the dictionary or following the genetic code, okay, the ribosome and tRNA, they write the sequence or they make the sequence of amino acids in a polypeptide, and that is your translation. It is a very complex process. So, for that reason, what are the requirements? Messenger RNA as the reading frame, where what kind of polypeptide to be synthesized, it is written in the messenger RNA. Messenger RNA has come from the structural portion of the gene. Okay, so that is genic RNA. But these two RNA, tRNA is an adapter RNA, translator RNA, and third one is ribosome, as we discussed. But thing is, of what a polypeptide would be formed? Now they are formed of amino acids. So amino acids must be present in the cytosol, cytoplasmic component of a cell. So all standard 20 amino acids which do take part in protein synthesis, the entire gamut of amino acids in the cell is called amino acid pool. So this is called amino acid pool. They are available in the cytosol. Besides these, many factors, protein factors designated as initiation factors, elongation factors and release factors, as you will see, they are essential in this protein synthesis. Translation, the very process is taking place in 3 steps: initiation, elongation and termination. But prior to that, it is written activation of amino acids and charging of tRNA. So that step is discussed while translation is coming into action. So now a tRNA is empty. A tRNA is empty. What kind of amino acid will bind to tRNA? tRNA is specific for each amino acid, remember, because a tRNA has an anticodon that is fixed. So correspondingly, what amino acid will bind to the CCA end, 3' end, that is also fixed. So here an enzyme called amino acid tRNA synthetase, that is very important in charging of the tRNA. If at all I could have been told from my childhood, teacher means गोटे गच्छ, आम टीचर गोटे टर्म व्हाट इज आम प्लांट टाक देखे ना कि आम पढ़ी ट्री मीन्स गच्छ, टीचर मीन्स शिक्षक जे पढ़ाए. सो ए वर्ड रिलेट्स टू समथिंग. सो हु हैज टॉट मी द कॉन्सेप्ट इन द बिगिनिंग? ना माय मदर. मते जदि कहा जाई थांता गच्छटा को टीचर, ताले मु सही जिनस बुझी थांती. ताले इनिशियली आई एम टॉट व्हाट वर्ड मीन्स व्हाट और इट रिलेट्स टू व्हाट. करेस्पॉन्डिंगली को टीआरएनए को अमीनो एसिड की बाइंड करियो से कामटा होची ए एंजाइम रो, ता ना होची अमीनो एसिड टीआरएनए सिंथेटेज. रिमेंबर नाउ द स्टेप्स लाइक दिस activation. Amino acids cannot do bind or form peptide bond among themselves as such. It needs energy. Everywhere polymerization requires energy. Here that energy is provided by ATP. So now that enzyme binds amino acid and ATP, then from this AMP, adenosyl monophosphate, is attached to this and PPI is released. So while the enzyme binds this complex amino acid AMP in another active site, it binds its corresponding tRNA, If this is my, I am the enzyme at all, this is my one active site, to this active site amino acyl AMP is attached, and to another active site I binds the tRNA, because I know what amino acid is for what tRNA. Correspondingly, I go for a structural change, bringing the CCA end of the tRNA to the amino acid site. Then amino acid is transferred to bound to the CCA end or amino acid acceptor end of the tRNA, as a result of which now the amino acid is attached to the corresponding tRNA, making a charged tRNA. So these enzymes are very much important behind the accuracy of protein synthesis. So this is the diagram. You can see this is a just schematic diagram, computer generated diagram. This is the enzyme. Now this has a bound amino acid here, amino acid and AMP. This is AMP. Now this is the OH end. This is the L-shaped structure of tRNA. This is the L-shaped structure of a tRNA. This is the CCA end, amino acid acceptor end. This is the OH group, and this is the COH group, COOH here. You can see. Now this enzyme transfer or forms a bond between this OH and COH group of the amino acid, as a result of which water is released, and now this tRNA is having this amino acid bound to it. You can see this is an ester bond, this is in an ester bond. So that's why as tRNA is bound to amino acid by ester linkage, the term amino acyl, ACYL, is used. So that is amino acyl tRNA right now. So these amino acyl tRNAs in 20 different types, they are the precursors, they are the requirements, they take part in protein synthesis. So now let us come to the process. Once these charged tRNAs are available in the cytosol, then protein synthesis goes on when mRNA is available. Initiation, several unpaired bases near the 3' end of 16S rRNA in the small subunit form temporary hydrogen bonds with a complementary bases present at the 5' end. What I mean to say, ribosome consists of rRNA and polypeptides. So the rRNA present in the small subunit is 16S rRNA. 16S rRNA takes a particular conformation in the small subunit, but to that the mRNA binds. So let's see how, because it is a molecular aggregate, it is a complex structure. Which one? 30th subunit. mRNA is also a biomolecule. आमे कहउछन सेटा बाइंड करछि, but it is a chemical interaction. Let's see how the chemical interaction goes on. So now this structure is 30th subunit, of which this is the rRNA, 16S rRNA. To the 3' end there is a conserved sequence. To this 3' end the mRNA binds. You must remember that here is the start codon, and upstream of the start codon there is a sequence that is called Sine-Dalgarno sequence. This Sine-Dalgarno sequence, it is GAG, GGAGG. So you can see this sequence and this CC UCC, they are complementary. So because of this complementary pairing, the mRNA binds to the ribosome. So this is the first step of the initiation. Now this 30th subunit comes in contact with this mRNA, then only several initiation factors they are involved. Details is something little bit complex. Let us have one idea how things go on, one overall view of protein synthesis. So now the mRNA, remember the mRNA is translated from 5' to 3' direction. From the beginning of mRNA it is not translated, rather where there is AUG, the start codon, there, from there the translation will take place. But prior to that, there is upstream of the start codon, the sequence is necessary for binding of ribosome to it. Once the 30th subunit binds to the mRNA, then comes the tRNA. The tRNA responsible for bringing the amino acid methionine is F-met tRNA, formyl methionine tRNA, because start codon is fixed AUG. For the start codon, the amino acid is methionine, and the transfer RNA which brings methionine from cytosol to this site, its name is methionine tRNA. You can see this. AUG is the start codon, but its correspondence anticodon is A for U, U for A, G for C. तो मैंने codon, anticodon, they are complementary. mRNA, tRNA also antiparallel. देखो arrangement सदाबले केमती एटा 5' to 3' अच्छी किंतु tRNA जो बाइंड करची एपट अच्छी 3' एपट अच्छी 5' आकु जदि हम सीधा कर दियंती tRNA ताकू ताले एपटे पड़िबो 3' एपटे पड़िबो 5'. They are antiparallel. So DNA RNA or RNA pairing takes place in a complementary manner because of base pair complementarity, and antiparallel nature is followed everywhere. So this must be kept in mind. So now the 30th subunit mRNA and the F-met tRNA. F stands for formulated, a formyl group, it attached to the amino acid. So that's why the name is called formyl methionine tRNA. In short, that is called F-met tRNA. So one, that is 30th subunit mRNA and this tRNA, these three constitute a ternary complex, three complex. To this, then what next comes? Next is the 50th subunit joins the complex, and here GTP is hydrolyzed through initiation factor 2. Now this is the initiation complex, it is a quaternary complex, complete ribosome. First 30th subunit to which mRNA binds, then F-met tRNA is binds to the codon site, and exactly it is located in the P site. The first tRNA is located in the P site. Now the initiation complex is ready. Next is this thing we discussed. Now if we go back, this site is P site, this site is A site. A site means depending on the codon, the tRNA carrying its amino acid will come to this. एमिति भाबिबा जे कोडन और एंटीकोडन जदि परफेक्ट बा पेयरिंग ठीक से नहला द tRNA will bounce back फेरी जीवो. When there is complementary, then it stabilizes and remains in the A site. Next is elongation. Next is elongation. From this it is not that clear what I see, but here in the P site there is a FMAT tRNA, in the A site another tRNA carrying one amino acid. Now two tRNAs are aligned side by side, first one carrying FMAT tRNA, second one carrying another amino acid. So what next? Now when depending on two codons, two amino acids are aligned remaining side by side in the vicinity, next job is formation of a covalent bond between the two amino acids, and that covalent bond is a peptide bond. It is between two amino acids. So who brings about this synthesis of the bond? Now that is the enzyme peptidyl transferase. Previously we discussed that peptidyl transferase is an enzyme located in the 50S subunit of the ribosome. So this peptidyl transferase was found to be one RNA. The 23S component of this ribosome, 23S rRNA of 50S subunit, carries out this activity, peptidyl transferase. So here we will learn a new concept. Probably you might have heard this peptidyl transferase is not a protein, because we have read all enzymes are proteins, but now this enzyme is RNA by nature. So it is ribonucleic acid acting as enzyme. Thus peptidyl transferase is not a protein enzyme, rather one ribozyme. Once this bond is formed, what is seen? The first amino acid is cut from the first tRNA, it is covalently linked to the NH2 group of the second tRNA. Now in this complex, the first tRNA is vacated, that means amino acid is removed from this or joined to the second tRNA. Now this is vacated. Next function is ribosome. Ribosome will translocate. आमे गोटे कॉन्सेप्ट बुझिबा, मेसेंजर आरएनए इज कंटीन्यूअस चेन. मेसेंजर आरएनए इज रेड, पढ़ा होची इंफॉर्मेशन से लिखा ही अछि, किए पढुची ना राइबोसोम एंड टीआरएनए बोथ आर रीडिंग. सो आमे जते पढुचंती आमे यूजुअली फ्रॉम लेफ्ट टू राइट बा वी आर प्रोसीडिंग फ्रॉम वन एंड टू द अदर. Similarly, when the two codons are read or decoded, translated, next is the third codon. किंतु राइबोसोम एठी रही कि it cannot translocate, it must move forward. As we are reading, we are changing our eye position from one to next like this. So next is ribosome moves in 3' direction, because it is translated from 5' to 3' direction. When it moves, what might happen in next step? You see the tRNA carrying two amino acids by dipeptide, that is called dipeptidyl tRNA. This tRNA is dipeptidyl tRNA. It was at A site. When the ribosome moves one step by one codon ahead forward, then this dipeptidyl tRNA comes to P site, the vacated tRNA comes to E site, and the A site is again vacant. Now to this site the another tRNA carrying its amino acid will bind. So what tRNA? Now depending on the codon, anticodon pairing, then the corresponding tRNA comes. So always for translation, codon anticodon pairing is always maintained. So now this moves. Here I have to tell you one thing. The movement of ribosome in the direction of the mRNA, that is in the 3' direction, it moves. But I have to say ribosome is not a globular structure as it seems, it is a complex structure. Ribosome is a molecular machine. Ribosome is a molecular machine. Let us come to this point. It is a macromolecular aggregate composed of 2 subunits 50S 30S, but the whole ribosome moves in a programmed. For movement it needs energy. Let me tell here GTP with elongation factor G, it assists the ribosome to move. Ribosome moves means it changes its conformation so that it moves forward just one step. What is that one step? Now just a codon, 3 nucleotides forward. So that's why it is told ribosome moves in the mRNA in a programmed manner, just 3 nucleotides, that is 1 codon always. So this movement is called translocation, because the ribosome locates from one position to the other in the mRNA. So thus GTP powers or provides energy for this translocation. So now let me tell you like this. You can see here, this is a computer generated model, this is schematic model. What we do, you can see the mRNA bases are equally spaced. Now E site, P site and A site, and the ribosome moves. Beautiful. Here already 6 amino acids, a hexapeptidyl tRNA. This tRNA is a hexapeptidyl tRNA. Growing polypeptide is attached to the P site, and tRNA carrying 1 amino acid is bound to this site. And here now this bond will be broken by this peptidyl transferase, and this COH group will bind to the NH2 group of this amino acid, and a peptide bond will be formed. Now again it will be consisting of 7 amino acids. Okay, this would be empty again, and then it moves. So this process, binding of charged tRNA in the A site, peptide bond formation followed by translocation, this process is repeated. Then up to what extent? What extent this will go? And initiation followed by elongation, then ultimately termination of protein synthesis, or protein synthesis will come to an end. Whenever I read a sentence where I stop, now wherever either there is a comma or a full stop. Similarly, what the full stop in this chain? We have discussed there are 3 stop codons. When a stop codon is reached ahead, that means when the ribosome moves along the mRNA and one stop codon is encountered or reaches the A site, then protein synthesis, or that is the signal that protein synthesis will stop. Okay. So this is the writing, this is regarding the translocation, because I have discussed from the diagram. So translocation is the movement of ribosome along the mRNA and by GTP hydrolysis. Next is the process is repeated several times. The above described sequence of events is repeated for each codon of the mRNA until a termination codon is reached. Now here comes the event. 3 codons, out of these 3 codons, when one is encountered on the way of the mRNA, then as the name suggests, they are nonsense codons. For these codons there are no tRNA, no amino acids. So when a stop codon is found or encountered in the A site, instead of a tRNA, what binds there? Now there binds a release factor. Release factor, the term release factor indicates it will release the ribosome from the process. So this release factor bind to the A site. It is seen this protein which is release factor is very much similar in shape to a tRNA. So that triggers or brings about a series of events releasing termination of the polypeptide synthesis or protein synthesis. So therefore the peptidyl transferase which is present in the large subunit catalyzes the hydrolysis of the bond that joins the protein to the tRNA, because we have seen a growing polypeptide is attached to the tRNA. Okay, that bond must be cut, means it must be hydrolyzed, so that protein would be released, the tRNA ultimately will be released, the two ribosomal subunits they must be dissociated, because once protein synthesis is over, the two ribosomal subunits dissociate. Okay, the tRNAs and the ribosomes are released from the mRNA and become available to participate in another cycle of translation. Another concept, it is a polysome. Towards the end, let me tell you what a polysome is. Polysome is polyribosome. If you see, it is a short form of or acronym of this polyribosome. If I have a book, I read this, I did my job, but that book is intact, it has information, it has life. So more कहीं relative but somebody else is utilizing that book over and over. Similarly, as long as mRNA has life, mRNA रे information लेखा है कि कौन प्रोटीन तैयारी होबो, गोटे राइबोसोम थरे 5' end रू 3' end को जाई गोटे पॉलीपेप्टाइड तैयारी कला. But do you think that the mRNA is finished there? No. As long as it is alive in the cell, intact in the cell, it is repeatedly translated by several ribosomes. If this is the chain, now one ribosome has proceeded from, you can see, this is the mRNA. So this ribosome which began first, now this has finished the translation, now they are dissociated, and this is the second one, this is the third one, fourth one, fifth one and sixth one. So when one mRNA is simultaneously sequentially translated by several ribosomes, this complex structure is called polyribosome or polysome. The ribosome towards the 3' end has the longest polypeptide, and that towards the 5' end having shortest polypeptide, or it is the polypeptide just emerging, just starting, and this have to initiate. So think of this way. So in cells, polyribosome exists, bringing about multiple copies of polypeptide from the mRNA, and as long as the mRNA is alive in the cell. So from this we can see the process of protein synthesis consists of initiation, elongation and termination. mRNA is read from 5' to 3' direction. As it has to initiate, the two ribosome subunits associate in the mRNA, and tRNA along with this ribosome reads the entire mRNA starting from AUG till the stop codon, not the sequence prior to AUG, not the sequence after stop codon, only start codon to stop codon sequence is translated. So moreover, ultimately when polypeptide is a linear sequence of amino acids, that polypeptide undergoes folding, because a linear structure doesn't bring about its function. It is folded into alpha helix or beta pleated structure, then tertiary conformation, then it associates with other polypeptides to form a quaternary structure and resulting in a complete functional protein. But this is one mRNA leads to synthesis of one polypeptide at a time, but as it is repeatedly translated, several polypeptides are obtained from this. Thank you.